Hello, I'm Curtis Brescher, and I would like to welcome you to Axiall Lake Charles Chemical Complex, one of the largest chlor-alkali facilities in the world. At Axiall, we're proud to be an integrated leader in the chemicals and building products industries. Our leadership is demonstrated by our diverse portfolio of life-enhancing products, our rigorous environmental practices, our community partnerships, and above all, our unyielding commitment to workplace health and safety. To help ensure your safety while visiting the Lake Charles Complex, this short video will provide you with an overview of our operations, the many safeguards and processes we have in place to protect our employees and the public, and instructions on how to respond in the unlikely event of an environmental health, safety, or security incident. Axiall sets a very high standard for its global operations, and the Lake Charles facility is a good example of how those standards are put into practice. We have about 1,250 employees and over 300 contractors entering our facility on a daily basis. Our number one priority is for everyone to return home safe and healthy. On behalf of our employees and contractors, I thank you in advance for your attention to this video and your positive contribution towards our safety efforts.
Axiall is regulated by the United States Coast Guard's Maritime Security Regulations 33 CFR 105. The complex is classified a restricted area, and in compliance with these regulations, any unauthorized entry constitutes a breach in security. The Coast Guard also requires all visitors to attain a Transportation Workers Identification Credential, also known as a TWIC card, while in our facility. All personnel entering the complex are required to wear photo or visitor identification on their outermost piece of clothing. If you do not have a TWIC card, you will be required to be escorted by an Axiall employee while visiting our facility. Visitor vehicles allowed to enter the complex will be issued a vehicle identifier. Entering the complex constitutes consent to have your person, packages, and vehicle searched, as well as be under electronic surveillance during your visit. Access to the complex will be denied to anyone who refuses to submit to a random search or inspection. We ask that everyone who drives in our complex pay attention to and obey our posted traffic and warning signs as well as our regulations. The maximum speed limit inside the complex is 15 miles per hour, and this is strictly enforced. Speed limits do vary according to area conditions and sometimes are as low as 5 miles per hour. If you leave your vehicle unattended anywhere in the complex other than the designated parking space, you must turn the engine off and leave the keys in the ignition. This is in case it has to be moved in an emergency. Seat belts must be worn at all times while driving or riding in a vehicle with approved restraints. Take note that pedestrians and bicycles always have the right of way inside the complex, so drive courteously and yield to them. There are a number of railroad crossings throughout the facility. You must cross these with extreme care. Tobacco products are not allowed inside our facility. Our smoking policy is strictly enforced, and we appreciate your cooperation. The use of cell phones is not permitted while driving. Cell phones with cameras are not allowed in the complex. You also are prohibited from bringing in any sort of weapon, intoxicant, camera, or video recording device into the Lake Charles facility. Axiall Safety and Security Department requires specific written approval and clearance for your entry with any questionable items. Violation of this policy will not be tolerated. We ask that you conduct yourself in a professional manner during your visit in our complex. Practical joking, roughhousing, and fighting will not be tolerated. Please walk when traveling through the complex. Running is not allowed. Safety is our number one priority. The following are general safety rules that are in place throughout the complex. These rules will help ensure your safety and the safety of others working here. It is very important to obey all safety regulations and to be constantly vigilant of any potential hazards. Safety is everyone's responsibility. Wearing the proper clothing is important. Sleeveless shirts, short pants, open-toed shoes, or high heels may not be worn. Approved hard hats and steel-toed safety shoes are required to be worn in all operating and maintenance areas of the plant. Safety glasses with side shields also are required. Ordinary glasses or sunglasses are not acceptable substitutes. If your prescription glasses do not have safety lenses or side shields, you need to wear the appropriate visitor glasses or goggles while in the facility. Some operating areas require goggles be worn during special situations, such as a unit outage, etc. Signs will be posted outside these areas. Your escort or host will advise you of these conditions. Hearing protection is required in high noise areas of the complex. Those areas also are marked with signs. Hearing protection will be provided to you as needed. If your host is escorting you through areas where flame retardant clothing is required, they will provide flame retardant clothing. Note that flame retardant clothing is to be worn fully buttoned, zipped, or snapped with the sleeves rolled down. We strongly encourage you to be aware of all signs posted and follow all safety precautions as advised. Be aware that all pagers and radios taken into operating units handling flammable materials must be UL or FM approved for hazardous locations. Some operating areas contain electric and magnetic fields that could alter the function of implanted medical devices such as implantable cardioverter, defibrillators, neurostimulators, cochlear implants, and insulin pumps. If you have such a device, please make sure to inform your host prior to entry into the facility. If you are injured during your visit, please report this to your host. Emergency situations sometimes exist within our complex. We have audible alarms for various conditions. Do not panic when you hear an alarm. Your host will escort you to an appropriate safe location should an alarm sound. Serious events may require the activation of the unit and/or plant evacuation alarms. These alarms are separate. Here's how they sound. The unit evacuation alarm has short intermittent tones.
A. Chlorine. Unit. Siren.
The plant evacuation alarm has a continuous blast and sounds like this.
Plant. A. Alpha. Evacuation.
If your area is evacuated, check the wind direction and travel crosswind or at a right angle to the wind direction when leaving. If safe to do so, return to the visitor center. If it is unsafe to return to the visitor center, report to the closest safe assembly point. Windsocks are located throughout the complex. Use them or steam vapors to determine wind direction. If you are driving and a plant emergency occurs, follow these simple procedures. Flashing strobe lights and signage near roadways indicate all vehicles are to stop, park on the side of the road, shut off the engine, leave the keys in the ignition, and leave the area on foot. Assembly points are located strategically to provide a safe place for people to congregate in the event of an evacuation. They also provide a location to account for personnel. Assembly points are lettered A through M in large orange circles. Take notice of them as you travel through the complex. A public address warning system is installed in various buildings and utility poles throughout the complex. Do not return to an evacuated area or unit until the all clear is given.
All clear. Plant. A. Alpha.
Other public address warning systems are installed in various buildings and utility poles throughout the complex. If an emergency exists, such as shelter in place, severe weather conditions, plant alerts, assembly points, or accountability, you will be given special instructions. If you are in the complex in the case of a Plant A, B, or C evacuation, please report to your supervisor or Axial contact. It is your responsibility to ensure that you are accounted for in the case of an evacuation. If you cannot contact your supervisor or Axial contact, call 708-5555 to account for yourself. For emergency assistance, dial 5700 from a landline within the plant or 708-5700 if calling from a cell phone. This number should only be used if unaccounted personnel or emergency conditions are to be reported. During an evacuation, call 5555 or 708-5555. You have been provided an individual pocket respirator. The respirator must be carried on your person at all times. Please watch this demonstration closely. It explains how this valuable safety equipment works. When needed for protection, place the neckband around the neck with the mouthpiece against your chest. To use, remove the protective cover from the mouthpiece and insert the mouthpiece between your lips and your gums. Use your teeth to grip the rubber studs protruding from the mouthpiece. Place the nose clamp across the nostrils to prevent nasal breathing. Breathe normally through your mouth, keeping your lips tightly closed around the mouthpiece. As an emergency escape respirator, these units are to be used only for escape. They are not to be used for normal working conditions requiring respiratory protection. It is a good idea to become familiar with your respirator in advance to be well prepared. Stay alert to your surroundings and do not wander away from the area you have been authorized to visit. Your host or their representative is responsible for you while you are with us. If visiting more than one location, you must be escorted to the next location. As a returning visitor or contract worker entering or leaving Axial, you must use the gate you were assigned. You also must check in and out with the guards each time. Failure to observe any of our policies or safety rules can result in restricting access in our facility. Your safety and the safety of others are of the utmost importance to all of us here at Axial. We hope you enjoy your visit to Axial Lake Charles.